The Carolina Hurricanes were the best team in the Metropolitan Division last season, and somehow over the offseason, they got even better. We're going to talk about that today on Locked On Blue Jackets with special guest Jared Ellis of Locked On Hurricanes.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster. My host, Hayden Houseland, will be joining us in just a second. He is here, I promise, and we're here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and ours, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen today, every day. Locked On Blue Jackets continues to be free and available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube and also on the SiriusXM app. Today, we are starting a little off-season series that I'm calling Metropolitan Matchups because I like alliteration and I think it's fun. So today, we're going to be talking to Jared Ellis, one half of Locked On Hurricanes. We're going to talk about how their off-season went, who their superstars are, what it takes to build a contender like the Hurricanes, and just a bunch of other stuff. It's a really fun conversation. So I'm just going to jump right into it. We're starting off our Metropolitan matchup here with the Carolina Hurricanes. Some little off-mic talk. Hayden and I were discussing who should be the first team, and Hayden was like, probably someone that we don't have a lot of beef with to keep things, kind of copacetic and friendly here on Locked On Blue Jackets. We've got Jared Ellis, one half of Locked On Hurricanes, and he's going to tell us how the heck the Hurricanes got better somehow. They were real good last season, won the Metro Division, probably going to do it again this season, and they just keep on getting better, and I don't understand it. But maybe after this episode, I will understand it a little bit more. So let's start off. The Carolina Hurricanes added a bunch of pieces this offseason. They got rid of a couple of guys, but what do you think the biggest offseason move has been for the Hurricanes?
There's a couple that come to mind, honestly. Obviously, locking up Aho long term, that's great. That secures your long term future. You got your face of the franchise locked up. So that's really big as well. The Dmitry Orlov signing, that was also really, really big. Their blue line was already absolutely stacked as is. And the fact that you went out and got the best defenseman on the free agent market, and the fact that you added him is crazy. And though I don't think it will happen at this point, the fact that they're still reportedly in on Erik Karlsson as well, and that can just get even better. It's crazy to think about there. The Michael Bunting signing, that one is also going to be fun to see how that pans out as well. Definitely adding some grit there. And yeah, it's been a very busy offseason for the Hurricanes. And of course, locking up both of the goalies, again, getting that situation sorted.
Hey, man, Jared, when the Carolina Hurricanes won 3 straight division titles, I think it just shocked me, by the way, reminding myself that the Hurricanes have won 3 in a row and now have elevated themselves to year in, year out, being talked about as a Stanley Cup contender. It's been quite the fun ride for that organization. But what, in your mind, Jared, is the biggest contributor to getting these Carolina Hurricanes to being at that status where they're talked about year in, year out as a Stanley Cup contender? What is it? Rod Brind'Amour? Is it Sebastian Aho? What is it that has gotten the team to this point?
Oh, man, I definitely can't pin it down to one thing. That's for sure, because so much had to go right for this, because they were so bad for so long. And I definitely
we don't know
think,
anything about what that's like at all.
Right. I definitely think the team getting sold was big in just getting it going on that path. Getting Carmanos out as owner, getting Ron Francis out as GM, and putting some folks in there that want to make this team a contender, have another Stanley Cup banner in the rafters, have more division title banners, have all of this stuff. So, you have, the front office side of things, those guys want this team to be good. And then having Rod Brind'Amour be your head coach and just creating a real winning culture and turning things around, not being satisfied with the status quo, not being satisfied, at 500, or, not being satisfied, with just being, playoff bubble team, like, no, we're winning the division and we're going to make the playoffs year in and year out. And then also the way they've built their roster over the course of these years, drafting really, really well. You mentioned Sebastian Aho, absolute steal in the second round back when they drafted him, moving up for Andrei Svechnikov, getting Jacob Slavin, Brett Pesce. They've drafted really, really well, and they have really invested in these guys that they're homegrown talent, essentially. And then they also, especially in recent years, they're willing to go out and go after big name guys, whereas old ownership, that was not the case at all. No one wanted to come here. And I got the roster up over here. You look at guys they've added, whether it be in free agency, trade, you have Frederick Anderson, getting your franchise goalie for right now, getting Brent Burns, already mentioned Dmitry Orlov, getting these guys. And, of course, we've had folks that have since, left, like Max Pacioretty. He was the guy yet didn't pan out, but it was one at the time when that trade was moved. It was like, holy crap, they're really going all in. So it's just been a perfect storm of what's gotten them to this point.
Yeah, for sure. The Hurricanes, I think, are one of those teams that are never flashy with what they do, and then you turn around and you're like, oh, they are leading the league in literally every metric, every kind of fancy stat. Like, you have these guys, like you said, that you pick up in the second and third rounds that turn into these stars. Like, and I feel like the Hurricanes did it again this season. They had a really, really strong draft, despite picking, what was their first pick? Like 28th, 27th,
28th
28th
or
overall?
29th, somewhere in there.
And the guy they picked was a really good pick. In a minute, we're going to get back to our conversation with Jared, all about the Hurricanes. But first, I'm going to tell you all about FanDuel. Go ahead and take your first swing at betting the MLB on FanDuel. Get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets, up to $200. All you have to do is bet $20 and you're going to land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That is $200 that you can spend betting everything from the money line to the over-under to who you think is going to hit the first home run. Or if you want to bet on hockey, you can maybe bet on the Hurricanes winning the Metropolitan division for a fourth straight season. All on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you can get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Sign up today. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That is FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball and also us, the Locked On Podcast Network. But I want to talk a little bit about kind of that consistent, being a contender consistently. Obviously, the Carolina Hurricanes have made the Eastern Conference Finals 3 years in a row and have won 0 games in those 3 years. Like, how do you avoid that happening again?
Yeah.
Because you'd think after the first 2, you're like, this can't possibly happen again. And then Florida decided to do Florida things. Like, how do you go into this season and like, right, if we make the Eastern Conference Final, what do we have to do to stop that happening again?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. Because it wasn't that they were 100% terrible. Their goaltending, Freddie Anderson, he was great. Their defense, it was great. It was their offense that just dried up completely, like a dried up Thanksgiving turkey. It was just terrible. And that is something that has plagued them throughout just these past few years of playoff success. of they can get the goals in the regular season, but come playoff time, they start to dry up. So I think, when it comes to playoff time, whether it be first round, second round, conference final, Stanley Cup final, they just need their offense to show up. Because they are so solid in the other categories, penalty killing as well, power play, kind of hit and miss, but that kind of goes in tandem, with offense. They're getting that just going and just be a threat, even if it's not, scoring, on every attempt or anything like that, just looking like a threat and getting those chances. That's going to be really big for them come playoff time, is just having the offense show up. We were talking about, do they go out, get a goal scorer? There's a lot of talk about Vladimir Tarasenko coming here. Didn't end up happening. And you do have the pieces here already that can do it. With Sebastian Aho, he can totally do it. Andrei Svechnikov, he can totally do it. I think he honestly could have been a real big difference maker in that conference final had he been healthy, because he had an all-star level season, his first one, so he could totally do it. Seth Jarvis, he's another guy that he's continuing to get better year after year after year. Martin Necas, another guy. They have guys that can do it, but they haven't done it yet, which is why I think myself, Andrew, and other Hurricanes fans are, wanting them to go out and get that elite level goal scorer.
Jared, what do the Carolina Hurricanes have to do to lock up a fourth division title in a row? It would be the third straight Metropolitan. They won the Central Division back in when it was COVID. I'm still 100% counting that as a Metro win. They've won 3 straight. What do they got to do to win a fourth straight division title? Does that even matter? What are some of the biggest threats in the Metro that you see as a Canes fan? Because as a Blue Jackets fan, we look at the Metropolitan division and we're like, oh, this kind of sucks. But as a Canes fan, you have a little less competition than that. But who is the biggest threat from knocking the Canes off that Metro throne?
So as of right now, I definitely think New Jersey is the biggest threat. They were on the Hurricanes' heels for the large majority of last season, and they very well could have won it had things, had a couple games gone a little bit differently for both teams. So I definitely think New Jersey is definitely the biggest threat to the Hurricanes right now before the season starts. Obviously, anything can happen once the season starts going. You never know. Blue Jackets could go on a run. You just never know. But I think, for them to get that fourth straight division title, I think that they would kind of, I don't want it to sound like a cop-out answer, but really just more of the same. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And, they're doing everything right now with just those maybe needing a little bit more firepower on offense and the power play to be a bit more consistent. Those are really the only 2 things. And I think that will really help them lock up the Metro and make that push, to get them past the conference finals and into the Stanley Cup final again, and potentially raise another Stanley Cup banner.
Yeah, for sure. I want to talk a little bit about the prospects. We were talking about this a little bit before we started recording, but obviously the Charlotte Checkers now belong to the Panthers, and the Chicago Wolves have decided to go independent. So as far as I'm aware, the Hurricanes don't currently have an AHL affiliate, which then gets super interesting, because what do you do with your guys that are kind of on the bubble and your guys that maybe are not quite NHL ready but have aged out of juniors? One of the guys that I'm really interested in is Pyotr Kochetkov, who I thought was fantastic this season. Killed it with the Wolves basically anytime he was on the ice. Is still waivers eligible, so when they went out and re-signed both Anderson and Ranta, I was like, oh, okay, they'll just send Kochetkov down. But they're not going to do that. So, what are they going to do now with their young guys? and their third goalie? Are they just going to run with a bunch of extra bodies? Are they going to loan them out? Like, what's
It's
happening
going to
there?
be really, really interesting, Jay, because we haven't heard a whole lot on this front. It's been a lot of speculation of trying to figure out what's going to happen. I know guys that are able to go over to Europe and play, that's going to happen. They're going to get loaned over there. But as far as guys that can't do that, I would imagine they're just going to try to, they may run with a few extra guys during the season. I think that is probably what's going to happen in the goalie situation of them just running with 3 goalies. I think everyone's kind of in agreement on that if that's just what's going to happen there. And it's weird because we've seen them do that before back in that COVID season when they won the Central, when they ran with Mrazek, Reimer, and Nedeljkovic, when they ran with all 3 of those guys. And at times it worked, but also at times it didn't. So that's going to be interesting to see how it goes this year. But as far as some of the other guys, I would imagine they're really just gonna try to have to figure out something with some possibly multiple AHL teams of just, okay, we'll send this guy here, that guy there, and just go with that. Another thing we had talked about would potentially be doing a shared AHL affiliate. I remember they did that with Chicago and Nashville a few years ago. I could see that potentially happening if they absolutely have to. As far as what team, I don't know. Obviously, I'd like Charlotte again because they were the AHL affiliate for forever, and the fact that that just ended up going away, that still sucks. I know a lot of longtime fans are still salty about that. But I would like that one, but ultimately we're just going to have to wait and see on this. It's just one of those things that we can speculate all day long, but we just got to wait for it to happen. Or for there to be some news to come out or something. But yeah, not a whole lot there. I think it's just going to be multiple franchises of this guy going here and that guy going there. At least for this season. Maybe next season they get one, but we'll see.
We started off the show talking about just the great job the Hurricanes did in the offseason, bringing in Michael Bunting, bringing in Dmitry Orlov. The Canes have definitely seemingly reloaded and are ready to make another cup run. But I just got to ask you while I got you here, Jared, is there anything the Canes didn't do in the offseason you would have liked to see them do? Is there something they did do that is there anything about this offseason you'd change or do differently to this point?
Yeah, as far as, things I wish they did differently, there's a few things. One of them we won't get into. But I still wish they did go out and get that goal scorer, whether it been Vladimir Tarasenko or whoever else, make the trade for Elias Lindholm or whatever it may be. I still wish they did that. Bring Nino Niederreiter home. That would be great. But, just that goal scoring, get that extra little push on offense. Like I said, they have guys here that can do it. It's just they haven't gotten there yet. They're continuing to make steps in the right direction, but they haven't gotten there yet. And that's been the issue these past few playoffs of offense drying up then. And that's really my big thing. Max Pacioretty, he was supposed to be it. Just didn't pan out. Is what it is. No hard feelings there. Not his fault. But that was my main thing of just wishing they loaded up a bit more on offense.
I feel like the Hurricanes are kind of in a little bit of a similar boat as the Blue Jackets are, in terms of like getting guys back. Obviously, the Blue Jackets were super, super injured last season, and so a lot of people are looking at them like, well, they didn't do anything this offseason besides add Ivan Provorov and Damon Severson. But like a lot of people are forgetting that they're getting Zach Werenski back, and I feel like it's almost a similar thing in Carolina of you lost Andrei Svechnikov before the playoffs even started, right? So like you get him back, he's healthy. Like he could be that 40-goal scorer that I know. My one friend who's a Hurricanes fan has been asking for the Hurricanes to go out and get a 40-goal scorer for the last 6 months. But Svechnikov could be that guy. So it's having him back, I think, will probably really, really help. Especially you said earlier, with the playing the Panthers and the offense just dried up. Well, yeah, you're missing a guy like Svechnikov who is a game changer.
Yep. And I think Aho, he can also be that 40 goal scorer. He's gotten to kind of that threshold, like the 37, 38, but he misses a few games. So like had he played those, boom, he hits it. Or I also believe the COVID shortened season, he was on track to hit it, but season got cut short. Yeah. So the Svechnikov, 100%, him getting back, Aho, those guys, they can 100% be 40 goal scorers.
Yeah, let's finish up with a couple of fun predictions / hot takes, I guess, depending on where you go with this. Who's your pick to be the MVP for the Carolina Hurricanes this season?
This season, let me look at the roster. Who do we have? Because I will definitely say last year it would be a toss up between Jacob Slavin and Andrei Svechnikov. Svech, he pulled such a large load in the regular season. You really saw just how valuable he was when he wasn't there. And Jacob Slavin just being Jacob Slavin, best defensive defenseman in the game.
Right. So, maybe the most underrated defenseman in the NHL.
And he's not flashy. So, that's why he doesn't get all the headlines. He doesn't rack up a bunch of points. So he should be in the Norris conversation, but he doesn't score a lot of points. So, honestly, I think that's who I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Jacob Slavin because, man, that dude, he just pulls such a massive load for this team. And, he does everything right out there. And he's not flashy. Like I said, he's just, I'm going to move my stick here and you're not going to be able to get by. And, I'm just going to lay this guy out. And he is absolutely phenomenal at what he does. And, he's going to get a fat payday next offseason when his extension comes due. And he is the backbone and the glue that holds that blue line together. And when he's not there, you really, really see it. In the past, when he's been paired with guys that aren't the best defensively, you don't really see it sometimes because of just how good he covers that stuff up. And it's just amazing just how much he does for this team. So I think preseason right now, I'm going to go with Jacob Slavin. That can 100% change as the season goes on. Someone can break out and, have a crazy good season. And so you never know, but preseason MVP, I'm going with Jacob Slavin.
All right, another fun one here. I'm not going to let you take the Canes. I'm not going to take the Blue Jackets in this one. Who do you got winning the Cup this year? You want to take take a shot and
let's see.
Pick the Cup winner for 2023, 2024?
Yeah, sure. Obviously, it's not an official answer, but of course I'd say the Canes, but can't say them. Oh man. I'm gonna get some crap for this.
It's tough.
Because it's a Metro team. I'm gonna say the Devils. I think they can do it. They are a good team. They are a good team, and they had a lot of those guys last year where they didn't have a lot of experience in the playoffs. Now getting that, and the fact that they've continued to load up and just get better, and they're young guys, very much like the Hurricanes. They're another year older, and they have this playoff experience. They're going to have another season under their belt. I think they could do it. I really, really do. I'd like to see the Kraken as well. I think everyone would kind of like to see them because that would be really, really cool out there. Vegas just won. That was fun for them. Obviously, you always kind of got to even though I don't think they'll win it. I got to throw out the Avs just because I got family out there. I don't think they'll win the cup, but, got to at least mention them.
Yeah, for
They
sure.
were big time hurt last year, the Avs. I felt like I feel like everybody expected them to come out, maybe try to go back to back, and they just were slow, injured.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a good pick out of you for sure. And then the
Devils,
Devils,
they missed.
of course.
The Devils,
Yeah,
the Devils again. They were really good last season, and they got better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's unfair, you know.
Yeah,
Be
I really think they can do it.
A pain
and I know
against
when Trey hears this, my DMs are going to get blown up. But yeah, I really do think, outside of the Hurricanes, I really think that the Devils could really make a run.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how the Blue Jackets and the Hurricanes do against each other next season. I don't know that the Blue Jackets won a game against the Hurricanes this season. They maybe won one. Hopefully they'll win more than that. But if people want to, catch up with the Hurricanes, I don't think you guys have any Blue Jackets alumni for us to catch up with. But if people want to learn a little bit more about Carolina Hurricanes, if they want to learn about what the best kind of barbecue is, where can people find you and your show?
Yeah, you can find the show over on Twitter at LO_Hurricanes. You can find myself on Twitter at Jared Ellis _96. He's not here, but you can find my co-host on Twitter at ASchnitt53. And we're also over on YouTube at Locked On Hurricanes. We just passed the 600 subscriber mark. So here's to the next 600, and go smash that subscribe button over there.
And that's all we've got for today. Tomorrow, we are not going to have an episode because it's Friday today. Tomorrow is Saturday. We're having the day off. Monday, we are going to be talking about Patrik Laine and some of the comments that he made later last week about playing center and whether that's an option for him coming into next season. Really, really fun article from Jeff Svoboda at Jackets Insider on Twitter. So we're going to be talking all about that and how much we love Patrik Laine. It's going to be a fun episode. So tune in for that. I've been Jay Foster. You can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTER. You can find Hayden over at HaydenH971. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets. If you have comments, questions, criticisms, you can email us at lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. Thank you once again for listening. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day every day. Locked On Blue Jackets continues to be free and available on all podcast platforms. We're over on YouTube and we are on the SiriusXM app. And we appreciate all of you. The YouTube subscriber button keeps going up and up and up, and you guys rule. So once again, Monday's episode, we're going to talk about Patrik Laine. If that is for you, then make sure you tune in. And until then, make sure you stay locked on.